Hello, and welcome to the Carla Knits podcast. This is a podcast about knitting, crocheting, and always all of the yarny goodness that I love. Today is Sunday, March 19th, and this is episode 72. A big hello to any new viewers. I hope you like what you see and would consider giving a thumbs up and subscribing to this channel. And a big hello and welcome back to any returning viewers and subscribers. Thank you so much for joining me today. Let's see, you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as cbcraftygirl. And for this podcast, we do have a Ravelry group, and we currently have 3 make-alongs going on. So I will touch on those briefly. The first is our shortest make-along. It's a Love Note knit-along. So it's knitting the Love Note sweater. That is a sweater pattern by Tin Can Knits. The knit-along started on February 14th and goes through April 14th. I'm co-hosting this with Britnee of the TurtleBurger podcast. I have finished my Love Note, which I showed in the last episode, and I really loved making that sweater. And I know Britnee is hard at work on hers. It's coming along great. So if you'd like to join us, it can be a pretty quick knit. There's a baby size one in the thread, so if you'd like to join in, details for that knit along can be found in the description box down below, as well as the other knit alongs and other things I talk about in this episode. The other make alongs, one is the blanket make along for this year, so you can pull out any blanket projects that you may have lingering from years past and work on those. You can start new ones. I am currently working on my Cozy Memories blanket, and there's just a general thread for chatter and for posting your finished object pictures. And I did want to highlight one from there today from that thread. And this is by Leslie529. That's the username on Ravelry. And she made a neat ripple crochet blanket. So really pretty. And the final make-along going on in the Carla Knits podcast group is the Love Your Stash Mal 2023. So a year-long make-along using stash. Could be stash yarn, stash patterns. You can combine new yarns using old patterns, new yarns combining stash yarns. All the rules can be found over there. Just a fun way to encourage us to use the beautiful stash yarn that we have, and there's lots going on over there. There is a chatter thread and a finished object thread. And just to highlight a couple finished objects for today, one is this is by MW Brazil. That's Jean, and she made the pattern Allie's sweater. So beautiful pattern, a beautiful sweater. The next is, oh boy, I'm trying to read my writing. Well, it looks like KNI or KN1 GAGNE 11. I know that's Kelly. I'm sorry. I'm trying to read my writing here, Kelly. She made the 3-season cardigan, beautiful cable work on that. And then the last one is LMECOLL on Ravelry. This is Linda, and this caught my eye because it's pink. She made a gnome, and this is Nedward of Grindle Ward. Sorry, when I'm scribbling my notes, I don't write the neatest. So, but those are just, you know, a sampling of some of the beautiful finished objects over in that thread. So if you are working on any projects this year and would like to join in, please do. We'd love to have you joining on the chatter or posting in the finished object thread. All right, today I have one finished object. And I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of a doozy for me. You will have seen this in the thumbnail picture, and I guess I will put it on for a little bit. I don't know. Well, I have a mirror over here in this room. I'm just trying to get a good angle. I guess that's okay. You can see how pointed it is on top. That's one thing I'm not sure I really like. But, okay, so this is the Monarchs of the Central Coast. This is by Nancy Bates Design. I have a hair coming down here. Sorry, guys. She is the designer who makes all of the beautiful hats based on the national parks. I have admired her work for quite some time. When I saw this this pattern on Instagram and she was offering it for a kit, I jumped on it because this hat reminded me of my husband Jeff's Aunt Gail, who has done work with the Monarch butterfly, and I thought this would be a great hat, you know, just to knit her a little something for Christmas. So it is a colorwork hat. It came as a kit. I don't know if there are any more kits available on the website, but the pattern is available on the website for, you know, just purchasing the pattern, so you could use, you know, your own yarns. So colorwork pattern for a hat. So let me tell you what happens here, or what happened to me. The last time I showed it, I was, you know, working through the color work. And when I got to the point in the hat where normally I would go to DPNs, you know, when the decreases have gotten too small for your regular circumference needle, I still changed to DPNs and was trying to do the color work on DPNs. Well, at some point my count got off, or at least I thought my count got off, and I was having a really hard time tensioning between the double point needles. I think I had it on 3. Yeah, I was just using 3 double point needles. I was having a hard time tensioning it. My stitch count got off, and so I tried tinking back, you know, like a row or 2 in the color work to try to figure out where I was and to continue going. Well, that didn't work at all. So I ended up pulling out the whole hat to the ribbing. So with that color work, I got to within 6 rows of the end of the hat, and so I ripped the whole thing out. So that was frustrating. But the needle that I had used was the recommended needle. The hat would have been too tight, I believe. Well, this isn't tight by any means, but the other one would have been a little bit more snug. So the second time I did this hat, I'm like, okay, I don't want to do double points for the crown decreases with color work. So I am going to do magic loop. So, excuse me, that is what I did. Ultimately, I went up 1 needle size the second time I knit the hat. And then when the circumference got too small, I switched to magic loop. I really didn't like that method either. I liked it better than the DPNs, but I think the needle that I was using was a Haya. I'm trying to think if it was a Haya or an Addy. I think it was a Haya. And the cord just kept twisting and curling on me on the ends of the magic loop. And I just found that really, really distracting, really cumbersome, getting in my way. So I really did not enjoy doing the decreases on the hat. I liked doing the color work up to the point where it got uncomfortable, you know, where it started getting too small for like a 16-inch circumference. So because I do love color work, but I did not enjoy doing color work decreases. No, not at all. Then I blocked the hat, and after that, some duplicate stitching was required for certain parts. So some of the whites and actually some of the colors too. And I guess that was to avoid doing 3-color work. So I trusted the designer and I did the duplicate stitching, which turned out fine, except my eyes really do not like the duplicate stitch. I gave myself a pretty bad headache when I did this yesterday, doing that duplicate stitching. And I have only done duplicate stitching on one other project. That is something I made, I don't think it was, no, it wasn't last year. It would have been in 2021. And I made a little sweater for my son Aaron, a Christmas ornament, and it had a Star Wars face on the little tiny sweater. It was out of the Star Wars knitting book, and there was duplicate stitching on that. And I remember again giving myself a really bad headache. That I thought was a little bit more understandable because those stitches were so small. That was fingering weight yarn. This is like DK, or I think this is worsted. So I wasn't really sure why that duplicate stitching gave me such fits, except maybe because I was looking at a lot of black stitches for the background. That could be. At any rate, I do like the pattern. I think it's a really cool looking pattern. You know, Jenna saw this laying on the table yesterday. She's like, is that a butterfly? You know, that's really neat. And so it is really neat, and I will give it to Aunt Gail for Christmas. It's a little pointy at the top, but that's okay. It's but will I be making another colorwork hat like this? No. I will not. As far as I can tell, I would not do another colorwork hat where there is colorwork all the way up. I guess I would like it to a certain point and then just solid for the rest. So that is my saga with this butterfly hat. So the butterfly almost beat me, but I did persevere and get this hat done. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off. Hopefully my hair isn't too crazy, or at least crazier than it usually is. But so that is the hat. I really do admire this designer's patterns and her colorwork designs. If you have done colorwork hats, what do you do when you get to those, you know, those smaller circumferences where you need to switch? And how do you manage that that tensioning between, well, if you do DP ends or even the magic loop, how do you manage that tension? And do you have a good tip for working colorwork when you're doing decreases or in a small circumference? I think there was something else I wanted to ask, but now I'm not sure. Just if you have any tips about this, because I have, you know, there are other hats. There is another hat in my Ravelry favorites that I have yarn for that I would like to do. It looks like gingerbread houses, but I was noticing then that the color work does go far up. So then I think I would be doing the same thing again. So I guess I would like to know any tips for working, you know, color work in the hat, the smaller, the higher part of the hat. I hope you know what I'm trying to say. Anyways, that's enough about that finished object. So that is the only finished object that I have for today. So that brings us into WIPs, or works in progress. So I had hoped to have this for a finished object today, but just didn't happen, but I'm pretty close. This is the second of the pair of socks that I'm working on. I believe I showed the completed one last time. This is, I'm calling it my piglet socks. This yarn is by Desert Vista Dye Works in the Zom Piglet colorway. And this is just a standard vanilla sock. So what I mean by that is there is no patterning in this sock. There, of course, is self-striping in the yarn, but you are just doing your ribbing, traditional stockinette. I have done a heel flap and gusset, and I am working down the foot of my sock. And I am pretty close to being at the point, I think, let's see, 4 or 5 more rounds before I do the toe decreases. So I guess I could have stayed up really late last night to try to finish this, but no, I didn't want to push it. I wanted to enjoy finishing the sock. I didn't want to, you know, be pushing so hard that I was really tired and too sick of it. So I love the yarn. I think the yarn is so pretty. Yeah, I really admire Desert Vista Dye Works all of the beautiful colorways that she dyes. So I think this one is really fun, and I'll be excited to have that pair of socks completed really soon, and hopefully that will be for the next podcast. It should be a finished object. I had said that I think for the last one, but certainly I can get that done. Next work in progress. The next 3 are going to be new projects that I've cast on. Actually, I do sort of, I'm going to go back to finished objects. So sort of finished objects, except I'm planning to make more. So still works in progress, I guess, because I'm making a bunch of these. I haven't woven in ends, but these are the Christmas tree scrubbies. So I have done 4 of these. This is a crochet project. Christmas tree scrubbies by Daisy Farm Crafts. And this is using Red Heart Scrubby Sparkle. It's 2 strands held together. So you have a white yarn and then a green yarn and a white and a pink. The colorways are marshmallow for the white and avocado for the green, and then marshmallow and watermelon pink. So when I saw these by Daisy Farm Crafts, I just thought these were really fun and would make really cute little Christmas gifts for this coming year. So this is my project, one of the projects I am working on. I've shared before when I sit downstairs in my craft room with our cat Reese's after dinner. That's kind of our tradition that we do. So I have been working on a couple of these. So these are finished except for the ends being woven in, but they don't take a lot of yarn, so I have plenty to make a bunch more. So I will be continuing with those, but that's been a really fun crochet project, and they work up really fast. And I was wondering if the yarn would bother my fingers, but it's not bad. No, because I have made like the tulle scrubbies before, and that definitely hurts my hands. But this scrubby yarn is not bad. The chaining and then the first row of crochet, a little tricky. So I could do a foundational crochet that might help that, but after that it's very, very simple. So if you're looking for a fun little Christmas gift idea, I highly recommend that pattern. It's been really fun. The other project that I've been working on when I've sat with the cat is, oops, my yarn. I'm at almost at the first cake of yarn. So this gorgeous yarn is by Danny of Lumberjack Yarn. And I have another skein of this. I'm trying to see if I have it with me. I guess I did not bring my bag with me. This, she gifted me 2 skeins of this beautiful, pinky purple, absolutely Carla colors on a bulky weight yarn. So I wanted to find something to do with that. And honestly, I debated about making hats for my nieces for Christmas, and that really would have been very nice, but I'm like, I really, really love this yarn and I kind of want to keep it for myself. So I thought, okay, what should I do with it? So I am making a cowl. This is called the Royal Mile Cowl. It's by Damie Hunter, and I think it's a pattern by Magpie Fibers. But this was free on Ravelry. There is a version for a longer cowl, which I am doing, and a shorter cowl. So the shorter cowl takes 1 skein of bulky weight, and then the longer version takes 2 skeins of bulky weight, and that's what I had, so I wanted to use that. I am knitting on a size 11, although the pattern did call for a size 13, but I did not have a 13 in the right circumference I did not want to buy a size 13 needle, so I'm just going with the size 11, and I think it's still going to be plenty nice and drapey once it is off the needles and blocked. I am just about a little more than halfway through, so I will almost double the circumference on this. But I absolutely love the color. So Danny, if you happen to be watching, hello, and thank you again for this stunning yarn. Danny has been a wonderful supportive friend of this podcast. So I thank you very much. And this is just gorgeous yarn. So really nice and soft, and just a beautiful, beautiful dye job on this. I absolutely love it. So that has also been a project with my cat. So I've alternated between the crochet and the knitting, and they have just been really nice, simple projects, you know, for sitting, you know, for a few minutes, maybe 15 minutes here and there. Just really enjoyable. So, all right, some more new cast-ons. I talked last time about, or I shared the new green yarn. I believe I showed the new green yarn that I had gotten, and I know I showed yarn for another Love Note, which lots of you commented on that you really liked that yarn, and I do too. I decided, well, why don't you wait on the Love Note? Why don't you make the other sweater pattern first? So I am using the yarn I got. The yarn is the Fiber Company Erin More Light. This is what I have left of the first skein. So it is this beautiful green colorway. And when I watched the video back from the last podcast, it is pretty, but I don't think it's as pretty on screen as it is in person. But I am making the Willa Tee by This Bird Knits. And okay, that's the back. So this is how far I have gotten on it. So I'm actually through the lace pattern on the tee. I know it's kind of bumpy, and this is kind of bunched up on the needles. And I'm still working yoke increases. And so I have about, I think, 16 rows before I split for the sleeves. And I love this green color. So the pattern is written for a fingering weight yarn, and this is classified as a DK weight yarn. I would classify it more as a sport weight yarn. So when I did do a gauge swatch for this sweater, and I looked at the gauge I was getting, and then I chose the size based on the gauge I was getting. So I think I am knitting the 3rd size, but it's getting closer to the 4th size, if I have that right in my mind. I think I am not going to knit this as a tee. I say that now. I mean, this is what I'm thinking at this point in time. I think I would like to knit this, you know, it's supposed to be a crop sweater, and I do not do crop sweaters at all. I don't enjoy that. But so I am planning on making it longer than the cropped version. But then rather than short sleeves, I am thinking of doing the 3/4 sleeves like I did on the Love Note. I really actually loved that length. Or I will go to full sleeves, but I'm really probably leaning towards those 3/4 sleeves with this. So I actually ordered a little bit more of this yarn just to make sure I could do the longer sleeves, but I really love this. And the yarn, when blocked, it's definitely not super rustic. It's not super soft either. So I guess it's a little, maybe a little more rustic to handle, but then when I blocked my swatch, it really softened up. So I soaked it, you know, in water with some soak in it. You know, that's the wool wash, and it really it really softened up. So I can tell a difference between, you know, the fabric that I have in my sweater and the fabric that got blocked. So I know I'm really going to like that a lot. But hopefully you can see I'll show you the back too, the lace detail on that. Yeah, I just think that is super pretty. So again, that's the Willa Tee by This Bird Knits. And I made the Kaisa Tee, I think that was by This Bird Knits last year, and I really enjoyed that pattern. So yeah, I'm thinking I'm really gonna enjoy this one too, and hopefully the finished object as well. My other new cast on I am very excited about. I will tell you, this week was a stressful week for a couple different reasons, which I probably won't get into. But I just thought, I'm going to cast this on. I don't know if I have any business casting this on. I don't know if I have the brain space to cast this on, but I have been wanting to do this for a long time. So I cast on the Feel Good Shawl by Andrea Mowry. I have it in my cute sheet bag by, well, I know it's by Elizabeth of the Pearlden, Texas podcast, and but I don't know your shop name. I'm sorry, Elizabeth. I'm sorry. But the Feel Good Shawl by Andrea Mowry is a brioche shawl, and I have not knit brioche in many years now. I honestly cannot tell you the last time I knit brioche. I have made a brioche cowl, and I have made a brioche fingering weight shawl, but it has been a while. And you know, just being stressed, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to, you know, keep the pattern straight in my mind. I know it's not difficult, but are you going to be able to follow it? But Andrea Mowry's videos are very, very good, and I feel like I definitely have the rhythm for the stitches right now. So this is the right side of the shawl. So I did post this on Instagram, and I realized when I posted this that it wasn't really stretched out on the right side. So I'm not certain you could really tell that it was brioche, but this is probably a little better. So right side and wrong side. So they both are very, very pretty. Yeah, so brioche, you know, can be reversible, so you would be able to wear either side of the shawl. This is a 5 skein DK weight shawl. So this first section uses 2 color brioche. Then the next section just is a single color brioche, and then the bottom edging is a 2 color, I think it's double brioche or something like that. I have not decided for sure on my colors for the rest of the shawl. And that's been one of my biggest hang-ups. You know, I have pulled out different 5 skeins here and there. I knew I didn't want to do fingering weight double because there's enough going on with brioche with, you know, the, well, if you know brioche, the strands, there's enough going on with those. And I thought adding in, you know, double-stranded fingering weight might not be the best for right now. So I'm trying to stick with my DK that I have in stash. So I am using all stash yarn and hoping to pull something together that goes well. But so far, I think it's really turning out quite nice. I'm really happy with the colors I chose. This blue is by a homespun house, and this is from Deep Stash. I honestly can't remember when I got this. It's probably been at least 2 years. And the color in this, or the colorway, is called Lake of Fire. So this blue with the different speckles in there. I really love that. The cream speckled color, so pastels, speckles in there, is by Bumblebee Acres Farm. This is in the Miss Bennett's colorway, so it's a Jane Austen reference. And Bumblebee Acres currently has their Jane Austen yarns up on their websites, and you know, I looked at the Miss Bennett's that they have now, and the Miss Bennett's they have now is much more, from the pictures it looks like much more vivid and bright. So this is definitely a little bit more subtle and toned down, which I really liked. I think it complemented the blue really nicely because there's some like subtle blue grays and purples in there. So I thought, yeah, it was a nice contrast to the blue yarn. So this project has really just captured my heart. I think just paying attention to the rhythm of the stitches has been wonderful. I do not watch TV or listen to podcasts or anything when I am knitting this, just because I fear that my mind would wander and I may get off on my stitches. So that may change as the shawl goes along. I certainly do have the rhythm of the stitches now, but I have not had experience with correcting mistakes in Brioche, and I don't really want to find out how to do that because I fear that could be really difficult. So yeah, so I think that's all I want to say about this shawl. When this shawl pattern came out, it came out in June of last year. I saw it and I thought, that is the Brioche project I want to try again, because I've wanted to try Brioche again, and I just thought that shawl is so big and squishy looking. And a friend gifted this pattern to me for my birthday, so Gozzle from Gozzle Knits. So thank you so much, Gozzle. I absolutely love this pattern, and I thank you for gifting that to me last summer. Yeah. So Brioche is worked, you know, each row is worked twice, so it's going to be a slow going project, but I think I have 8 or 9 repeats done out of the 20 that I need to do for the first section. So I am just enjoying the process. So I'm usually a product knitter. I see a project, I want to knit it because I want that finished object. So I definitely want the finished object for this shawl, but I'm equally enjoying the process, maybe just because it's something new and different that I haven't done in a while. So really enjoying that project. All right, the last project I want to share, just a little bit on my Scrappy blanket. So I am doing 30 minutes a day, or doing my best to do 30 minutes a day on my Scrappy blanket. So this week I have done, I know there's lots of little ends that will need to be woven in, but I have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 6 squares. So last time you saw the Halloween one, this was in progress, but I've done all the ones with markers, and I'm currently on this one. So still slow going, but I'm happy that I'm keeping up with the 30 minutes a day. I may have missed 1 or 2 days within the last, since I podcast the last time, but I'm trying really hard not to. I'm trying my best, to get those 30 minutes in, because every square helps add to what eventually will be a finished blanket. And I just think this patchworky looking blanket is so very fun. So this is a pattern, it's called The Coziest Memory by Kemper Ray. I am using all fingering weight yarn. It is a free pattern on Ravelry. So if you have a lot of scraps in your stash, this could be a really good one. Each square takes me a little over an hour, but I don't consider myself a fast knitter either. So if you're a faster knitter, you might get these squares done quicker than I, and maybe your blanket will grow a little faster, but I'm just going to enjoy working with the different colors as they come up, and yeah, just enjoying adding to this blanket each week. So those are my projects for today. I think that is it. As far as knitting plans for the remainder of March, excuse me, March is just flying along. I can't believe we're already today is March 19th. It just seems like it's going so fast. So things that have been going on this weekend. My daughter Jenna is in the musical at the high school, so she has had 2 performances already. And if you've noticed, I've glanced at my watch a couple times. Her final performance is this afternoon, which I have gone to the last 2. I'm going to go to this final one because she's a senior, and this is her last musical for the high school. So they are doing a production of Legally Blonde Jr., and Jenna is in the sorority girls, those dances and singing, and then she's also a stylist in the salon, if you know the show. So really a very, very fun show. I've enjoyed it a lot. So we've had that going on this weekend. We had all of our, well, we had our boys, and then our daughter-in-law here on Friday night. Everybody came to see Jenna in the show, and I made dinner. And then Jeff is traveling this weekend. So he's been busy with that. Today I was helping Jenna put treat bags together for all of the cast and crew for the musical. So we were putting, or I should say we went shopping together, but I ended up putting together the treat bags. So 60 treat bags this morning after church. We did that. Our son, I'm sorry, I'm saying a lot. Our son Ryan told us this week that he is moving to Texas. So that was, I am excited for him. He is not a fan of the cold weather, which if you've watched for a while, you know that I am a fan of cold weather and the snow. He is not a fan of cold weather at all. He has wanted to be somewhere warmer. So he and his roommates are all going to be moving to Texas. They're talking about Waco, Texas. And, he called us this week, and they have plans to move as of April 1st. So that was not even a little bit, that was a huge shock to this mama's system. So that was hard. Yeah. So at some point we will be traveling to Waco, Texas. So if you are in the area or know of any good yarn stores in that area, please let me know, because I imagine we will be traveling maybe this summer down there. And then we are still trying to figure things out job-wise, and we are still trying to help Jenna figure things out with college decisions. So there has just been a lot of big things going on in our house, just in addition to the everyday working. I really am enjoying teaching the young kids down the street. They say some pretty funny things at times, and I really enjoy those young ones. I'm really tired when I come home after some of those long days, but it's been a real blessing teaching down there. So the semester for the college and the elementary school teaching is definitely winding down. I think there is 6 or 7 more weeks in the semester. The piano recital for the kiddos will be May 1st, and so then my teaching will be done for the school year. So things are definitely winding down in that way, but it's a busy time as we prepare for the recital. And then of course Easter, so I'll have some church services to play coming up in April around the Easter season. So I think that is all that is going on here. I hope that you are all doing well. In the midst of the stress, my knitting brings me much comfort and stress relief. Just knitting those stitches, knit those stitches, knit those stitches feels so good. So I hope that your knitting or your crafting is bringing you joy and comfort. If you find yourself with stress or anxiety, I hope that those things can help you too. And let me know what projects you might be working on. If you have any helpful color work tips, especially when it comes to hats, maybe any spring projects that you're excited. Do you have new cast-ons that you're excited to work on for spring? Let me know. So thank you so much for joining me today, guys. I really appreciate the time that you take to watch this podcast. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. So with that, I'll say goodbye, and I'll see you all in a couple of weeks. Take care.